Good evening to all of you. I'm very glad to appear before you. Few days back, our members assembled at Mona, and I took the opportunity to speak about my experience and success on so many problems I have explained, and our members really appreciated and asked me to give speech on some topics continuously. Actually, Tirupur is a place for full of opportunity to service. You can earn very well. Today, only a few members are present. What it means? First thing, everyone knows the topic very well, I hope. Second thing, they have more priority than this class. That's the reasons behind this. But my experience, being CA professions, we have to learn till our death. Then only we can survive a successful practice. That is my experience. Welcome, Rajesh sir. Now, going to the topic. First, disclaimer. Presentation are intended for CPE educational purpose only and do not plan to replace your independent personal view or judgment. Second thing, the opinions expressed are my independent view only and does not bind me for any legal proceedings. But though I give the disclaimer like this, if anyone come with me with my point, then I will stand behind you in case of any problem. Because some of the chartered accountants, one chartered accountant, he signed in a wrong balance sheet and caught by CBI. CBI put some slaps on his back and he afraid very much. CBI wrote the letter to institute also. At that time, he used to discuss with me. At that time, he called me how to solve this serious problem. Then we worked together and we have solved the problem. We wrote proper reply to institute, appeared with proper lawyer, and we won the case. Now he is freely practicing. So any problem we can solve. Basically the chartered accountants are above average. Because otherwise you cannot pass CA. Now, the scope of GST implementation, Finance Minister speech, if we saw in Google search, we can find on 19/12/2014, GST is applicable on supply of goods or services as against the concept of the manufacture of goods or on sale of goods or on provision of service. What does this mean? Previously, you may heard about the central excise. At the time of manufacturing, the manufacturer has to pay the central excise. Thereafter, it is not applicable anywhere. Now it is not like that. GST is applicable everywhere. So it is not on the manufacturer stage only. GST is indirect tax. We are having two types of taxes, direct taxes and indirect taxes. What is direct taxes? The person who is paying, or rather I can say a person who is sacrificing a portion of his income to the government for the balance of economy is direct taxes. But indirect taxes, every person has to collect the indirect taxes from another person, and after deducting the input tax, he has to pay. He is not paying from his hands. So it is pass on, pass on, pass on. Finally, the consumer has to pay the tax. So the second line, GST is based on the principle of destination-based consumption taxation as against the principle of origin-based taxation. Origin-based taxation at the time of manufacturing only. It is not like that. So, sir, just now we have started, sir. So, the principle of destination-based consumption. So, who is paying the GST? The consumer is paying the GST. That is the main concept we have to think. For the export of services, basically, who is the consumer? We have to take from the scope. One by one we will go, and finally we will come to the conclusion. Now, under any act, Section 2 defines the definitions. Section 1, short commencement and title. Section 2, definition. Now, what is export? Under Section 2.5, export of goods with its grammatical variations and cognate expressions means taking goods out of India to a place outside India. It means the goods manufactured in India, or we may import the goods is at India now, and it has to taken out to India to a foreign country. It is called export. Similarly, if they explain us export of services is service rendered in India and taken to a place outside India, then it's simple, it's okay. But they gave a different definition with 5 points. First, export of services means the supply of any service when the supplier of service is located in India. Second, the recipient of services is located outside India. Third, the place of supply of service is outside India. Fourth, the payment of such service has been received by the supplier of service in convertible foreign exchange. And now the Reserve Bank amended it. If they receive in Indian rupees from specific countries, it is also equal to received in convertible foreign exchange. For example, Nepal and Bhutan. If we export goods or export services to Nepal and Bhutan, and if we receive in Indian rupees also, it is also equal to received as received in convertible foreign exchange. And next, the supplier of service and the recipient of service are not merely establishment of a distinct person in accordance with explanation 1 in Section 8. Under Section 8.1, if a person open office in Tamil Nadu, if you open another office in Karnataka, then it is distinct person. But for export of service, it is not enough. It has the government has clarified by clarifications in circular. I will give later on. Now, one by one. First, the supplier of services is located in India. The first condition to be satisfied is that the service provider must be located in the taxable territory. This means the supplier is made from a place of business for which the registration is obtained. So if the supplier is at Tirupur, then first condition fulfilled. Second, the recipient of services is located outside India. The second condition to be satisfied is that the recipient of service receiver, must be located outside India. This means that the service receiver must be located outside the territorial limit of India. The recipient must be located in any foreign country. Third, the place of supply of service is outside India. This is the complicated provision in export of services. This means the service should be consumed outside India. As I already told, GST is based on the consumption basis. So we have to prove that the service is consumed outside India. Section 13 explains the place of supply of service. Now, according to section 13, the place of supply of service where location of supplier or location of recipient is outside India. They put some 13 conditions. We will go one by one. Section 30. Place of supply of service where the location of supplier or location of recipient is outside India. First condition. The provision of this section shall apply to determine the place of supply of services where the location of the supplier of services or the location of the recipient of services is outside India. Mostly, when the supplier of services is outside India, it is a big question mark. Who will pay tax for the services rendered outside India? No one will pay. Second, the place of supply of services except the services specified in subsection 3 to 13. Section 3 to 13 are specific provisions. According to section 3 to 13, the supply of services, though it is supplied to a foreign country, the supply of services are deemed to be supplied in India. That is the very crucial point. Now, provided that where the location of the recipient of services is not available in the ordinary course of business, the place of supply shall be the location of the supplier of services. That is okay. The place of supply of the following services shall be the location where the services are actually performed. Services supplied in respect of goods which are required to be made physically available by the recipient of services to the supplier of services or to a person acting on behalf of the supplier of services in order to provide the service. For Tirupur buying offices, foreign buyer order கொடுத்துறாரு, நீங்க வந்து இந்த கம்பெனில போய் சர்வீஸ் பண்ணிட்டு வாங்க, இன்ஸ்பெக்ஷன் பண்ணுங்க, குவாலிட்டி செக் பண்ணுங்க, அதெல்லாம் எங்களுக்கு சொல்லுங்க, நீங்க பண்ற சர்வீஸ்க்கு நான் பணம் கொடுக்குறோம் அப்படின்னு ஃபாரின் பையர் சொல்றாரு. It means the buyer arranges physically available of the goods to the servicing person. Buying office காரங்களுக்கு ஃபேக்டரியில போய் யானை காமிக்கிறாங்க என்ன கவுண்ட்னு, தயார் பண்ண குட்ஸை காமிக்கிறாங்க என்ன குவாலிட்டியில தயார் பண்றாங்க. அப்போ பையர் வந்து பிசிக்கலி மேட் அவைலபிள் அப்படிங்கிறதுனால இது எக்ஸ்போர்ட் ஆஃப் சர்வீஸ் கிடையாது. சர்வீஸ் இது டாக்ஸபிள் சர்வீஸ் ஜிஎஸ்டி கட்டி ஆகணும் அப்படிங்கிறது தான் GST authority in their view. Then I have argued, service may be rendered in India, but the service is exporting to a foreign country by way of reports. So it means the buyer is consuming the service in a foreign country. That report is not useful for any person in India. It is useful only for the foreign buyer. They give a particular brand name to produce particular type of garments, and the goods are exported to a foreign country, and the buying officer services are exporting together with the foreign country. So the service consumed outside India and it is exempted. And two deputy commissioners accepted my arguments and they have passed the order that it is exempted. So this is very important fact. For example, for Van Heusen, Louis Philippe, and so many brands, some of the buying officers, they are doing the inspection for them and give reports to UK, the principal company. And subsequently, the principal company is sending in convertible foreign exchange for the service rendered. But the goods are not exported. The goods are supplied in India only. And the services also consumed with the goods in India only. So in such a situation, we cannot claim exemption because the service is not exported. So next, provided that when such services are provided from a remote location by way of electronic means, the place of supply shall be the location where goods are situated at the time of supply of services. If the goods are located at UK and they have sent through email the pictures and other things for expert opinion, suppose for machine repair, correct they have sent the pictures, and here the service provider, he will give comments, he will give his opinion, and in fact online also he will give some guidance to make repair. Corona time China machine vaangirundanga, inga repair ஆயிடுச்சு. அப்ப நம்ம virtual meeting மாதிரி தான், சைனாவுல இருந்து ஆன்லைன்லயே அவங்க டைரக்ஷன் கொடுக்குறாங்க, நம்ம இங்க கரெக்ஷன் பண்றோம். In such a situation, it is a export of service. And provided further, nothing contained in this clause shall apply in the case of services supplied. நான் சொன்ன சைனா வந்து அது import of service அது tax கட்டணும். Similarly, இந்தியாவுல இருந்து போனா மட்டும்தான் exemption. Provided further that nothing contained in this clause shall apply in case of services supplied in respect of goods which are temporarily imported into India for repairs and are exported after repairs without being put to any other use in India, then that which is required for such repairs. In such a situation, when some goods, the buyer sends some goods for repair work, we are doing the repair and we are re-exporting to the same person or to a different country, then it is exempted. It need not to be the same country. Even a German machine came to India for repair work and again exported to Indonesia, it is exempted because the service consumed, who is consuming? The final goods receiver, Indonesian people, they are consuming. So who is consumed the service is in a foreign country, so it is exempted. Services supplied to an individual represented either as the recipient of service or a person acting on behalf of the recipient, which require the physical presence of the recipient or the acting on his behalf with the supplier for the supply of service. Fourth, from 3 to 13, all the services treated as taxable, provided we have to prove. For the place of supply of services supplied directly in relation to an immovable property. See, for any immovable property, if it is situated in India, naturally the service they are consuming in India. So it is taxable, including services supplied in this regard by experts and real estate agents, supply of accommodation by a hotel, in guest house, club, or by whatever name called grant of rights to use immovable property, lease, rent. Services for carrying out or coordination of construction work, including that of architect or interior decoration, shall be the place where the immovable property is located or intended to be located. So, any services related to immovable property situated in India is taxable. Then, the place of supply of services supplied by way of admission to or organization of a cultural event, artistic event, sporting, scientific event, educational fair, entertainment event, or a celebration, conference, fair, exhibition, or similar nature. These all categories. If these events are held in India, then it is taxable. So they are consuming the services in India, this trade fair and other things. Next, where any services referred to are in subsection 3 or subsection 4 or subsection 5 is supplied at more than one location. 3, 4, 5 we have seen in detail, and if it is done more than one location in Tamil Nadu, then it is also taxable. And next point, if it is more than one state, then also it is taxable. 8. The place of supply of the following services shall be the location of the supplier of services, namely, services supplied by a banking company or a financial institution or a non-banking financial company to account holders. For example, NRI பார்த்திருப்பீங்க, உங்க client இருப்பாங்க. They may situate in any foreign country. They may open account in any banking company at India, and for their services, the bank may charge, they may levy some bank charges for account keeping and other things, so many things, transaction for other things. But ultimately, the NRI at foreigner is going to utilize. He is the consumer, but he is consumed the service in India, so it is taxable. It should be consumed in a foreign country, then only it is exemption. And then intermediary services. We will see later on in detail about the intermediary services, because buying officers எல்லாமே intermediary services தான் officer சொல்றாங்க. How to overcome it, we will discuss. And then services consisting of hiring of means of transport, including yachts but excluding aircraft vessels. Here, any foreigners coming to India and travel by using some transport and consuming, naturally the consumption is in India, so it is taxable. For this purpose, account means banking company, means financial institution, means non-financial institution, means these are all normal things. Next, the place of supply of services of transportation of goods other than by way of mail or courier shall be the place of destination of such goods. So, for transportation of services, it is taxable, other than mail or courier. For mail or courier, there are some different type of services are there that we will see later on. The
ocean freight based on this only exemption.
Ocean freight, it is coming and next. Aircraft and vessels, excluding aircraft and vessels. For aircraft and vessels, some services are exemption, some services are taxable. That is a big chapter. If any of your clients are there, then we will discuss it in detail. Otherwise, we can skip. Because the main aspect, my main aim is whether the buying officers at Tirupur, whether their services are taxable or not. That is the main focus. The place of supply in respect of passenger transportation services shall be the place where the passenger embarks on the conveyance for a continuous journey. This is the confusion. Because if they embark in Coimbatore airport and end in Saudi Arabia, so it is taxable. Next, the place of supply of services provided on board a conveyance during the course of a passenger transport operation, including services intended to be wholly or substantially consumed while on board, shall be the first scheduled point of departure of the conveyance of the journey. First departure engeyo adha kanakku eduthukkranga, so taxable. The place of supply of online information and database access or retrieval services shall be the location of the recipient of services. This is very important because some of you may have information technology clients. There is out of 100% GST collection in our country, 40% is from service sector, 60% is from goods. So the major information technology service, out of 40%, more than 50% is information technology services. So they are paying the service tax, GST. So we have to, if any one of your client is having information technology services, then tell me, we will discuss. So explains, for the purpose of the subsection, person receiving such services shall be deemed to be located in the taxable territory. If any two of the following non-contradictory conditions are satisfied, namely, the location of address of presented by the recipient of services through internet is in the taxable territory. The credit card or debit card or store value card or charges card or smart card or any other card by which the recipient of services settles, pays, has been issued in the taxable territory. Next. The billing address of the recipient of service is in the taxable territory. The internet protocol address is of the device used by the recipient of service is in the taxable territory. The bank of the recipient of services in which the account used for payment is maintained is in the taxable territory. If the country code of the subscriber identity module card used by the recipient of services is in the is of the taxable territory. The location of the fixed landline through which the service is received by the recipient is in the taxable territory. So in all these type of cases, it is taxable because they are consuming the service in India. Basically, they need not explain this much because to avoid interpretation, they put so many conditions. And then in order to prevent double taxation or non-taxation of the supply of service or for the uniform application of rules, the government shall have the power to notify any description of service or circumstances in which the place of supply shall be the place of effective use and enjoyment of a service. Finally, the place of supply, what is place of supply? Shall be the place of effective use, where they are using it and where they are enjoying the service. Next condition, it is easy condition. The payment for such services has been received by the supplier of service in convertible foreign exchange. This means the supplier of service should receive convertible foreign exchange as consideration for the export of service, provided the Reserve Bank allowed two countries, Nepal and Bhutan, to receive Indian rupees. It is also equal to received as convertible foreign exchange. Next, the supplier of service and the recipient of service are not merely establishment of a distinct person in accordance with section 8.1. Section 8.1, if you have one office at Tripur, if you have another office at Karnataka, then it is distinct person according to section 8.1. But for availing the export of service benefit, there should not be any common interest. What is common interest? A firm, two firms are there, X and Y, and if any one of the person or his relative is having 20% or more interest in both the firms, then it is called a common interest. Though it is not defined in the GST Act, we can take Customs Act, Old Central Excise Act, even many Act. Am I correct, sir? Narajan, sir? Okay. Explanation 1 in section 8. For the purpose of this Act, where a person has an establishment in India and any other establishment outside India. Second point, an establishment in a state or union territory and any other establishment outside the state, or an establishment in a state or union territory and any other establishment being a business vertical registered within the state of union territory, then such establishment shall be treated as establishment of distinct persons. For the purpose of payment of GST, they have designed section 8.1 as the same person as a distinct person. For the purpose of claiming exemption, they are excluding the section 8.1 and give different meaning by way of circular number 161. Hence, a same person become a distinct person according to explanation 1 in section 8. But for availing benefit of export of service, the supplier and recipient should be two different independent establishments without any common interest in constitution or related establishment, as per circular number 161/17/2021 GST Chapter 29/2021. I gave the annexer also, circular, for your verification and study. Now, export of services under zero rated supply. First, we have seen the definitions and explanations, section 2.5 and section 2.6. Now, export of services. We can, if any one of your buying agent approaches you, then if you want to give good advice of exemption, because normally the buyers are not giving 18% GST to the buying office. So they want to avoid it legally. So how to avoid it? As like export of goods under zero rated, export of services under zero rated is also there. Section 16, zero rated supply. Zero rated supply means any of the following supply of goods or services are both, namely export of goods or services are both are for authorized operations. Supply of goods or services are both to a special economic developer or special economic zone unit. So, if they export of service, if we prove that they are doing export of service, then we can go for zero rated supply. Subject to provisions of subsection 5 of section 17 of the CGST Act, credit of input tax may be availed for making zero rated supplies, notwithstanding that such supply may be an exempt supply. So according to section 17.5, they can claim the input tax credit. Third, a registered person making zero rated supplies shall be eligible to claim refund of unutilized input tax credit on supply of goods or services or both without payment of integrated tax under bond or LUT in accordance with the provisions of section 54 of the CGST Act. Now, for export of services, we can divide it into two parts. One is payment of IGST and we can apply for refund. Another method is zero rated supply by submitting the LUT or bond. Whichever mode is convenient, we can go for it. Provided that the registered person making zero rated supply of goods sale, in the case of non-realization of sale proceeds, be liable to deposit the refund so received under the subsection along with the applicable interest. Here, the main aspect is realization. For export of goods also, export of services, the realization. If they have not received the realization, then they have to pay the input tax credit availed. The government may, on the recommendation of the council, are subject to such conditions, safeguards, and the procedures by notification specify a class of persons who may make zero rated supply or payment of integrated tax and claim refund of the tax owed. So either they can make zero rated supply or they can make payment of integrated tax and claim refund. A class of goods or services which may be exported on payment of integrated tax and the supplier of such goods or services may claim the refund of tax so paid. So it is better if you have still any confusions, then you can file the return under IGST and you pay the tax and claim refund. If they give the refund, then it is called export of service. Even later on, if they found and want to recover the amount, we can challenge in the court. Zero rated supply will also include any supply of services to special economic zone developer, which means that supplies will have zero rated under GST. Supply of services to Nepal and Bhutan will be considered as export, even if payment of such services is received in Indian rupees. Hence, categorized as zero rated supply and will have all the benefits as a zero rated supply enjoys GST. For every exporter, it is mandatory to have GST registration. That is, a person who is unregistered under GST cannot make zero rated supply. So first, all the buying officers has to register themselves under GST. Then only they are eligible for zero rated supply. Otherwise, they have to pay the GST. Yes, sir.
In respect of state sale,
Hmm.
there will not be any basic exemption.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. True. True. And for exporter also, there is no export of service also, there is no basic limit. Even if they do some 5 lakhs turnover, they have to register under GST. But many buying officers, it seems they have not registered under GST. Escape, sir.
The export of service also IGST route will be there.
Amma. Two routes. One is IGST route, the other one is either LUT or bond. IGST route, that I will come later on. What are the documents to be attached for claiming the exemption? That I will come later on. For it is very simple. IGST, if we pay the IGST, then we can claim refund. Second method is either LUT or bond. LUT everyone know, and bond where applicable. For some people, they have made some frauds or tax evasion of more than 2.5 crore. They have to give the bond. So mostly everyone will give LUT only. And an export of services has two options to comply with GST guidelines. Two options. First option one, export of services under payment of IGST without bond or LUT. Without bond, without LUT. They are paying the IGST and they are claiming the refund. As per GST laws, export of services has the option to pay IGST on exports and claim the refund later. There are two variants in the refund. The refund can be claimed within 2 years from the relevant date. That also I will come later on with the circular. For the year 1920, they have issued the circular on 21 September. So the two types: tax paid on the services exported out of India, supply of service is completed before the payment is received, or services received advance prior to the date of invoice. This is all practical technical points when we can claim the refund. Unutilized input tax credit. Option 2. First option is payment of IGST and claiming refund. Second option is export of service without payment of IGST under a bond or LUT. They are doing the export of service under a bond or LUT. A registered supplier also has the option to export services under bond or LUT and can claim refund of unutilized input tax credit. Earlier, the facility of LUT submission was available to specified category of exporters, but post release of GST circular number 8/8/2017 dated 4th October 2017, Annexure 2. I gave it in Annexure 2. All the exporters were eligible for it, except in few instances where it was required to furnish bond. So every exporter of goods or services, they are eligible to do the export by LUT. When they have to issue the bond, any person who is charged, for a tax evasion amount of Indian rupees 2.5 crore and above is not eligible for LUT. They have to give the bond. They are not eligible for the LUT. Also, in cases where the taxpayer does not comply with the conditions specified in LUTs within the required time, bond need to be submitted. If they violate the LUT condition, then they have to give the bond. The validity of LUT is 1 year. Every year they have to renew it. LUT can be submitted online with bonds need to be furnished manually in hard copy. Registered supplier can submit a bond or LUT in a specified format in Form RFT 11 prior to the exports on the letterhead of registered supplier to the jurisdictional commissioner. Acknowledgement reference number is received once LUT is accepted. In case of bonds, additionally, a bond on stamp paper along with the bank guarantee and other supporting documents will also be furnished. There is no need for a separate bond for each transaction. Instead, a running bond can be submitted in which terms and conditions remain same for all transactions. Example, taxpayer gives a running bond of 2 crore. This means he can export services worth up to 2 crore in numerous transactions. Once the condition of a particular transaction are met, the bond is free for that amount and can be reused for next transaction. This bond or LUT is nothing but a kind of promise that why they are asking the bond, why they are asking the LUT. In case of any non-realization from the foreign consumer, then they have to pay the tax. So this bond or LUT is nothing but a kind of promise that a taxpayer makes to pay the taxes along with interest if services are not rendered within 1 year from the issue of export invoice. Tax needs to be paid within 15 days from the end of 1 year or such period as may be allowed by the commissioner. Once the services are rendered after 1 year, benefits are given back to the exporter. So this is the time limit. For some of the services or for some of the goods, the date of execution of the order is important. Refund for unutilized input tax credit can be claimed by filing the form RFT1, RFT1A. It is permissible to claim refund even if exports are made after 1 year. GST Rule 96A, refund of IGST on export of goods or service under a bond or LUT. Any registered person availing the option to supply of goods or services for export without payment of IGST prior to export, a bond or LUT in form GST RFT 11 to be to the jurisdictional commissioner, binding himself to pay the tax along with the interest specified under subsection 1 of section 50 within a period of 15 days after the expiry of 3 months, or such further period as may be allowed by the commissioner. Second thing, the same thing, only little difference. The details of export invoices contained in form GSTR1 furnished on the common portal shall be electronically transmitted to the system designed by customs, and a confirmation that the goods owned by the said invoices have been exported out of. This is applicable for export of goods. I took all the conditions. Provided that where the date of furnishing the details of outward supplies in form GSTR1 for a tax period has been extended in service in excess of the person conferred under section 37 of the Act, the supplier shall furnish the information relating to export specified in table 6A of form GSTR1 after the return in form GSTR3B has been furnished, and the same shall be transmitted electronically by the common portal to the system designated by the customs. Provided further that the information of table 6A furnished under the first proviso shall be auto-drafted in form GSTR1. This you might have practically seen in export of goods. Where the goods are not exported within the specified, these also are export of goods. The export as allowed under a bond or LUT withdrawn in terms of sub-rule 3 shall be restored immediately when the registered person pays the amount. In any case, if the bond or LUT, if they are not accepting for some conditions, if the exporter is fulfilling the conditions, then they can restore the LUT or bond, as the case may be. The board by way of notification may specify the condition and safeguards under which a letter of credit, a letter of undertaking may be furnished in place of bond. Again, bond is LUT kudukalannu we can approach. The provisions of sub-rule 1 shall apply mutadis in respect of assets, in respect of zero rated supply of goods or services or both to a special economic zone. If any one of your client is having office in special economic zone, then this one is applicable. Normally, Tirupur people, they won't go for special economic zone. Why? If they go for special economic zone, they cannot avail any benefit, drawback or MLFS license or ROSTL, so many benefits they cannot avail for special economic zone people. That is why they are not going to special economic zone. Now, documents required by the exporter of services to be filed. GST officer. Yes, we have to give it in advance. That we are doing zero rated supply by submitting LUT. Documents required by the exporter of services to be filed for getting a GST refund. Rajesh sir, this one you have asked. IGST route, we have to pay the IGST and we have to claim the refund. Yes, we have to apply for the refund, as like export of goods. So for claiming the GST refund for export of services, for claiming the GST refund for export of services, a covering letter When realization certificate for the foreign inward remittance certificate. Export invoices, form GSTR 3B, GSTR 1, application for refund in GST RFP 01, cancelled check. If GST refund claims exceeds 2 lakhs per quarter, a certificate from a chartered accountant. If we file these things, then we are eligible for refund. Okay. LUTR bond route. Yes. Here no shipping bill available. You are correct. No one will go for IGST payment. But some people, they may afraid future. Normally, when we will get the notice from the department after 4 or 5 years, and it will end in a huge demand. So some buying officers, if they are afraid, then they can argue. Now IGST pay பண்ணிட்டோம், pay பண்ணி தான் refund கேட்கிறோம். And எங்களுக்கு ஏன் refund கொடுத்தீங்க? They may, in that case, they can pay the IGST. Or else they can go under LUT or LUT. Export of
at the time of application for refund, the officer is issuing in a free manner like export of goods, or he is asking the documents.
He will ask the documents. He will ask what he will ask. First, he will ask the agreement with the buyer. First thing. Second thing, realization certificate.
It's not like that as you see in the
Yes. Second thing, realization certificate. These two. Third one is invoice copy. Fourth one, covering letter. These things they will ask. Naturally, the benefit. Why government is giving benefit to earn the foreign exchange? In the absence of such earning, then they will levy the tax. They will recall up to 5 years. They can issue the notice. Now, export of services under FEMA. See, RBI is accepting these buying officers as exporter of services. DGFT office is accepting that the buying officers at Tripur are doing export of services. Only the GST office is not accepting. They want to collect the tax. Export of services under FEMA. According to RBI, any person doing export of services are coming under exporter category only, and he has to comply all the norms fixed by RBI. Export of services from India is governed by Class A of subsection 1 and subsection 3 of section 7 of Foreign Exchange Management Act. Read with Foreign Exchange Management Current Account Transaction Rules 2000. Further read with FEMA notification number 23R/2015 RBI dated January 12, 2016. I gave it in Annexure 1 about the notification. These notifications released by RBI. See, this RBI circular is before introduction of GST Act. But at that time, Service Tax Act is there. So the same thing applicable to GST. This notification released by RBI along with prevailing foreign trade policy released by Director General of Foreign Trade, DGFT, lays guidance to contact export trade from India. For service exports, import code IEC is not necessary. According to RBI FEMA, IE code is not necessary. But according to DGFT, the DGFT benefit will be passed only if we have IE code. Except when the service provider is taking benefit under the foreign trade policy. For instance, a service provider needs to mandatorily have IEC as one of the prerequisites along with other requirements to apply the service exports from India schemes. SEIS. But the SEIS, 1 minute. For service exports, IE code is not necessary except when the service provider is taking benefit under DGFT. For instance, a service exporter needs to mandatorily have IEC is the one of the prerequisites along with other requirements for apply of service exports from India scheme. I will explain that scheme later on. Unlike export of goods, in case of service exports, none of the forms and declaration is applicable. Rajesh sir. Unlike export of goods, for service exports, none of the form is applicable. Service exporter can render service to overseas buyer without submission of any forms to RBI. Declaration, but liable to realize the amount of foreign exchange due into India and adhere to RBI guidelines. But RBI does not know that we have done the service exports. If we declare it in GST, then we have to show the realization certificate. Yes, sir. யார் கூட ரெஜிஸ்டர் பண்ணலனா हम IT enabled services அதான் later on வந்து ரியலைசேஷன் ஆகாம இருந்தாங்கன்னா they have to answer to RBI. GST ல டிக்ளேர் பண்ணிட்டாங்க எக்ஸ்போர்ட் ஆஃப் சர்வீஸ்னு, ஆனா ரியலைஸ் ஆகல, then they are liable. Incentive schemes for service exports. Now, according to DGFT, any person doing exports of goods or services are coming under exporter category only and eligible for incentives. So, if any one of your buying agent incentive schemes apply பண்ண சொல்லுங்க. Later on, GST appeal போகும்போது that will be helpful. RBI இருந்து ஒரு பில் ரியலைஸ் ஆகாம சப்சிக்வெண்டா கூட ரியலைஸ் ஆகலாம். RBI இருந்து நோட்டீஸ் வந்திருக்குது, நாங்க எக்ஸ்போர்ட் ஆஃப் சர்வீஸ் தான் பண்ணிருக்கிறோம், RBI ஒத்துக்குறாங்க, DGFT ஆஃபீஸ் ஒத்துக்கிட்டு எங்களுக்கு இன்சென்டிவே கொடுத்துருக்காங்க அப்படின்னு ஃபியூச்சர்ல இன் கேஸ் ஆஃப் எனி ப்ராப்ளம் ஆர்கியூ பண்றதுக்கு அது ஹெல்ப்ஃபுல்லா இருக்கும். மோர் ஓவர் இன்சென்டிவ்ஸும் உங்களுக்கு பிசினஸ் பீப்புளுக்கு யூஸ்ஃபுல்லா இருக்கும். வாட் இஸ் சர்வீஸ் எக்ஸ்போர்ட்ஸ் ஃப்ரம் இந்தியா ஸ்கீம் அண்டர் த ஃப்ரேம்வொர்க், பட் திஸ் ஸ்கீம் was valid up to 2020 March. Subsequently, they have renewed, but the circular எனக்கு கிடைக்கல, so I have not presented here. Under the framework of the SEA scheme, under implementation since 1/4/2015, service exported for eligible service categories are granted benefits in the nature of transferable duty credit scrip on a percentage of net foreign exchange earned on the export of eligible services in a financial year. The duty credit scrips 3% on realized value. For the buying office, 3% on realized value. realization of their services. ஒரு கோடி பையிங் ஆஃபீஸ் சர்வீசஸ் வாங்கியிருந்தாங்கன்னா அவங்களுக்கு 3 லட்சம் SES ஸ்கீம்ல ஸ்கிரிப்ட் கிடைக்கும். அந்த ஸ்கிரிப்ட் அவங்க வித்தாங்கன்னா அதுல சம் 90% 95% கிடைக்கும். அதுக்கு பின்னாடி வருது, எந்த கேட்டகரியில் வருது? கரெக்ட் தான், பிசினஸ் சர்வீஸ் தான். 3% can be used for payment of basic customs. That script is used by the consumer for paying the basic customs duty and certain other duties as listed in para 3.02 of the FTP 2015-20. Normally, duty credit scripts are being sold at 85% to 98% of its value. After 2020, please check with the DGFT consultant to know the latest incentive schemes available. Prerequisites for applying the SES scheme. All eligibility criteria are online in FTP and HBP. However, salient features are handbook procedure. Should have an active IE code at the time of rendering service. Should have certain minimum earnings, maybe I think 2 lakhs per quarter. Should have exported eligible service as notified in Appendix 3D EX. Does not fall under ineligible category. Services provided under modes 1 and 2 only are allowed for claim for eligible service. Negative net foreign exchange. Make the entitlement under 0 for the financial year. Before applying, kindly go through the notification 29/2015-20 dated 23/9/2021. For the period 25/2020, they have issued the circular on 23/9/2021. Annexure 4, I gave the annexure to you for claiming refund for 1920. In case if there is for claiming the duty entitlement script for 1920. In case if there is mixed service where the utilization of service is supplied to India and foreign country, and then the government wants to levy service tax on the entire service, it is not coming under SES. The services would be purely exported to, so this is not, sorry. Now intermediary service, this is the main point. What is intermediary? Broker, agent. According to section 213 of the IGST Act, defines the term intermediary as a broker, an agent, or any other person, whatever name called, who arranges to facilitate the supply of goods or services or both or securities between 2 or more persons, but does not include a person who supplies such goods or services or both or securities on his own account. See, in short, intermediary essentially involves 3 or more persons. Any transaction between 2 persons cannot come under intermediary. They need 3 persons. One is supplier, one is receiver, one is doing the service in between them. ஒரு வீடு பிடிச்சு கொடுக்குறாரு ஒரு ஃபாரினருக்கு, ஃபாரின் பையர் வந்து அவருக்கு ஃபாரின் கரன்சி கொடுக்குறாரு, அதான் இன்டர்மீடியேட் சர்வீஸ். திருப்பூர்ல many exporters are doing business. If any one of the foreign buyer, if they want to place the order, any one of the foreign buying agent, if they identify any supplier, then they will come under intermediary service. Paramsam sir, correct? That is the main point. Intermediary service. Identification of supplier. அது இருந்தது அப்படினாலே ஃபர்ஸ்ட் அந்த பையிங் ஆபீஸ்க்கு ஜிஎஸ்டி அப்ளிகபிள் தான், எக்ஸம்ஷன் கிடையாது. ஐடென்டிஃபிகேஷன் ஆஃப் சப்ளையர் இருக்கக்கூடாது. நெக்ஸ்ட், if anyone involves in price fixation, it is also called intermediary service. புரோக்கர் தான் ரேட்டை பேசி சொல்லுவாங்க. அவர் 1 கோடிக்கு வீடு விற்கிறாரு, இவர் 90 லட்சத்துக்கு கேட்கிறாரு, அவர் தான் இடையில பேசி முடிக்கிறாரு. ஃபர்ஸ்ட் இஸ் ஐடென்டிஃபிகேஷன் ஆஃப் சப்ளையர், செகண்ட் இஸ் பிரைஸ் ஃபிக்சேஷன் இருந்ததுன்னா இன்டர்மீடியேட் சர்வீஸ் தான். அடுத்தது, any fixed percentage on sales. Fixed percentage on sales நால என்ன? கமிஷன் தான். Even though if the buying office rendered any inspection or other services, supporting services, but fixed percentage on sales is commission and coming under intermediary, they have to pay the amount. திருப்பூர்ல ஒரு பையிங் ஆஃபீஸ் 5 கோடி ரூபாய் ஜிஎஸ்டி கட்டிருக்கிறாங்க. பிகாஸ் ஃபிக்ஸட் பர்சன்டேஜ் ஆன் சேல்ஸ் அப்படின்னு சொல்லி அதுக்கு அவங்க அக்ரிமெண்ட், பையரோட போட்ட அக்ரிமெண்ட்ல வந்து டேர்ன் ஓவர்ல 3% அப்படின்னு கொடுத்துட்டாங்க. ஃபிக்ஸட் பர்சன்டேஜ்னால கமிஷன் அண்ட் இன்டர்மீடியேட். கமிஷன் யார் கொடுப்போம்? புரோக்கருக்கு தான் கொடுப்போம். ஸோ தே ஹவ் டு பே த ஜிஎஸ்டி. In short, intermediary essentially involve 3 or more persons. 1, supplier of services or goods. Principal on whose behalf service is rendered. 3rd, person who actually receives the service. That is customers of the principal. Here principal ங்கிறது இங்க உள்ள எக்ஸ்போர்ட்டர், கஸ்டமர்ங்கிறது ஃபாரின் பையர். பை okay. If they receive the commission from the supplier, then who is paying the commission? Supplier. They are located in India. That means the supplier is consuming the buying office service. அப்ப destination of service எங்க இருக்குது? இந்தியாவுல தான். They have to pay the GST. பையர்ட்ட கொடுக்கறதுக்கு நான் இப்ப எக்ஸ்பிளைன் பண்ணிட்டு இருக்கிறேன். பையருக்கு வந்து பையர் கமிஷனா கொடுத்தா they have to pay the GST. Only for the services rendered on man-hour basis, exemption. Services rendered on piece basis, exemption. But not on a percentage on sales turnover. Commission மட்டும்தான் percentage on turnover. Services percentage of turnover as யாரும் சொல்ல முடியாது. However, where a person is providing services or supplies goods on his own account to his customers, it cannot be termed as an intermediate service. யாருமே வராது இந்த மாதிரி. அவரே broker, அவரே exporter. Because intermediate serviceக்கு 3% வேணும். Only 2%னா இது வராது, இன்டர்மீடியட் சர்வீஸே வராது. அவர் எக்ஸ்போர்ட்டாவே வாங்கி இருந்திருக்கலாம், 2 இன்வாய்ஸா வாங்குவார். எக்ஸ்போர்ட்டுக்கு தனியாகவும் நான் சர்வீஸுக்கு தனியாக வாங்குறேன்னா வாங்கிக்கோங்க, பட் எக்ஸம்ப்டட். In terms of section 13(8)(b) of IGST Act, the place of supply for the intermediate services would be the location of the supplier of such services. That is location of the intermediate service provider. பையிங் ஆஃபீஸ் இருக்கிறாங்க, கமிஷன் வாங்கிட்டாங்க, இன்டர்மீடியேட் சர்வீஸ் தான், அவங்க இங்க இருக்கிறாங்க, இங்கே தான் சர்வீஸ் பண்ணிட்டாங்க, கன்சூம் இங்கே தான் ஆகுதுங்கிறாங்க. When the essential character of services provided by service provider to foreign principal, foreign customer is that of commission agent for enabling source or sale of goods such as machine, garments to outside India along with support services. As per the composite supply concept, the principal supply is the intermediate service. So entire amount ko GST கட்டியாகணும். Some buying offices in Delhi, they have opened branches at Dubai or Gulf countries. For identifying the supplier, for sourcing and other things, they are receiving the commission at Dubai. For the services rendered in India only, they are receiving service charges under export of service category. So they are availing the full exemption benefit. Therefore, such services to be treated as intermediate services being services of commission agent for goods covered. See, one person, if they source for sale of goods, பொருளை விற்கிறதுக்கு அவர் சோர்ஸ் பண்றாரு, நேச்சுரலாவே அவர் கமிஷன் ஏஜென்ட் தான் இல்லையா? Therefore, such service is to be treated as intermediate service. However, the supplier could be doing pre-sale activity of nature of recommendation suitable suppliers, maintaining supplier list, and post-order activities such as supplier order status, guidance to manufacturer on trends, developments, communicate deviation in quality and delivery schedule, advice on international norms and standards. இதெல்லாம் பண்ணலாம். பண்ணியிருந்தா கூட the dominant nature of service appears to be that of outsourced business support services, which is normal course could be done by foreign client but outsourced to Indian supplier. Consequently, this is composite supplier service in which the essential nature of service is that outsourced support service. Such services would get covered in section 13(2), whereby place of supplier services is location of foreign client of Indian supplier. அப்ப அந்த சப்போர்ட் சர்வீசஸ் மட்டும் செப்பரேட்டா ஐடென்டிஃபை பண்ணணும். அதை மட்டும் ஐடென்டிஃபை பண்ணா எக்ஸம்ஷன் கிளைம் பண்ணலாம். சிங்கிள் அக்ரிமெண்ட் ஃபார் ப்ரொவைடிங் போத் சர்வீசஸ் namely சப்போர்ட் ஆஃப் சர்வீசஸ் பிளஸ் இன்டர்மீடியட் சர்வீசஸ், இந்த மாதிரி இருந்ததுன்னா அவங்க எக்ஸம்ஷன் கிளைம் பண்ண முடியாது. சிங்கிள் அக்ரிமெண்ட், செப்பரேட் அக்ரிமெண்ட் இருக்கணும். When the supply of intermediate and other support services including inspection, testing, designing, consultancy, etc. are done under single agreement, the view may be taken that it is a composite supply by supplier, wherein facilitation intermediate service is the principal supply, therefore not an export of service, and GST is to be paid. Power to grant exemption from tax. Section 6(1). If the central government want to support the foreign exchange earners. See, in Sri Lanka, because of the inadequacy of foreign exchange earning, they went bankruptcy. So, in our country, out of the total export, 40% is from service sector. So, for if they want to support the service sector, then they can amend this intermediate and other things to earn more foreign exchange, and then they may give exemption. Section 6(1), where the government is satisfied that it is necessary if the public interest so to do, it may, on the recommendation of the council by notification, exempt generally, either absolutely or subject to such condition as may be specified therein, goods or services or both, any specified description from the whole or any part of the tax leviable thereon, with effect from such date as may be specified in such notification. Maybe full சொல்லாட்டலும் ஒரு பகுதியாக கூட சொல்லலாம். எக்ஸ்போர்ட் ஆஃப் சர்வீஸ்க்கு நாங்க 60% எடுத்துக்கிறோம், 40% டாக்ஸ் கட்டுங்க. Agreement must. Then see, we have to give the agreement to satisfy the GST official. That in the agreementல வந்து clear நான் agreement copy தரேன். I have produced the agreements to the GST authorities. Mail correspondence enough, and phone number. If they call the particular person, then they should answer similarly. They should not give different. And mostly the buyers they agreed because they don't like to pay 18%. So, oh, no problem, I will tell. You give the phone number, I will talk to him. So the buyers are telling like that. But service exports contribute 40% of the total exports. Source Economic Times date 21/3/2022. IT executive services of foreign client cover 50% of service export. in our country, the income tax collection, if someone may go through it, I don't know, but I have studied. The income tax collection, if it is some 14 lakh crores for last year, the top tax payee, Maharashtra, they are paying around 4 lakh crore. Second, Delhi. Third, you can't believe Karnataka. Fourth, Tamil Nadu. Fifth, Gujarat. And these 5 states, they are covering 65% of the tax. Karnataka, once upon a time, it was more than 15. Because of the IT sector, they have developed. Even in GST also, last month GST, few days back I read in the newspaper, last month GST, first Maharashtra, second Karnataka. Because they are paying the GST on IT services. More GST. Third one Gujarat, fourth Tamil Nadu. For the past 45 years, Tamil Nadu is in top 5 in all area. Income tax payment and GST payment, everything. Irrespective of the bad politicians. Because of the hard work of the people in Tamil Nadu. So, hospital, 50% is from IT sector. Balance 50% covered by hospitality industry, hotel and hospitality industries, travel and tourism, logistics, business and industrial service, financial services, hospital service, etc. Explanation in CBIC website. In the website, the Central Board of Direct Taxes and Customs, Goods and Service Tax, under sectoral frequently asked questions, it is clearly explained as below. Questions under the head exports. And the website la export heading la question number 22 is GST payable to agency commission earned by buying agents of foreign buyers? Yes, since commission is received by agents in India and place of supply of services is in India, GST will be payable. So they should not receive commission. If they receive commission, they have to collect the GST. Now, advanced ruling references. I have prepared 5 advanced ruling cases and 2 court cases. What is advanced ruling? If everyone is knowing that what is advanced ruling, then I can skip. Otherwise, I will explain what is advanced ruling. Solanma, advanced ruling na enna solanma? அதாவது 1991 சேல்ஸ் டாக்ஸ்ல இந்த நெட் லேபிள் இருக்கக்கூடிய இதுக்கு வந்து என்ன அப்ப டிஎன்ஜிஎஸ்டி ஆக்ட் இருந்தது, என்ன டிஎன்ஜிஎஸ்டி ரேட் போடணும் அப்படின்னு சொல்லி ஒரு பார்ட்டிக்கு தெரியல. உடனே அவர் நேர போனாரு, அவங்க அசோசியேஷன்ல கேட்டார், அவங்களுக்கும் தெரியல. அப்புறம் அசோசியேஷன்ல இருந்து நேர சேல் டாக்ஸ் ஆஃபீஸர் போனாங்க. அப்ப இருந்த ஏசி பார்த்தாரு, அதுக்கெல்லாம் 0% தான், ஒன்றும் கிடையாது அப்படின்ட்டு வந்துட்டாங்க. அப்ப எல்லாருமே வந்து 0% போட்டாங்க. போட்ட உடனே 1 இயர் கழிச்சு ஆடிட்டிங், 1 இயர் கழிச்சு அந்த ஆஃபீஸர் மாறினா அடுத்த ஆஃபீஸர் இருந்தாரு. ஐயோ 0% தாரா, 4% எதுக்காக 0% போட்டீங்க, 4% கட்டுங்க. இன்னும் ரொம்ப போச்சுன்னு எல்லாரும் ஒரு அசோசியேஷன்ல சர்க்குலர் கொடுத்து அது 4% கட்டணும்னு பிரிண்டிங் பிரஸ்காரங்க, அந்த நெட் லெவல் பிரிண்டிங் காரங்கெல்லாம் 4% கட்டினாங்க. சப்சிக்வெண்ட் 1 இயர் கழிச்சு ஆடிட்டிங் வந்தது, 8% கட்டணும், அது 4% கட்டியிருக்கிறாங்க. பிளஸ் அதுக்கு ரிட்டர்ன்ல டிக்ளேர் பண்ணியிருக்கிறாங்களா, பண்ணாதவங்களுக்கு பெனால்டி போடணும். Again 8% with interest. So what is the finality? At that time, அந்த அசோசியேஷன் பீப்புள் வந்து எந்த ஒரு சார்ட்டர்ட் அக்கௌண்டையும் கன்சல்ட் பண்ணல. They took the decision by themselves. ஒரு சார்ட்டர்ட் அக்கௌண்ட் கன்சல்ட் பண்ணியிருந்தா அவர் அட்வான்ஸ் ரூலிங் பத்தி சொல்லியிருப்பார். இன் கேஸ் ஆஃப் எனி டவுட் இன் ரேட் ஆர் எனி டவுட் இன் ஆக்ட் ஆர் செக்ஷன், they can approach the advance ruling authority. ஒவ்வொரு ஸ்டேட்டுக்கும் அட்வான்ஸ் ரூலிங் அத்தாரிட்டி இருக்கிறாங்க. தமிழ்நாட்டுக்கு சென்னையில் இருக்கிறாங்க. அதுல 2 மெம்பர் இருப்பாரு. ஒருத்தர் வந்து சென்ட்ரல் எக்சைஸ்ல இருந்து, ஒருத்தர் சேல்ஸ் டாக்ஸ்ல இருந்து, 2 ஜேசிஸ் இருப்பாங்க. They will give their opinion in the advance ruling. This is the advance ruling. Okay. Now we can go. 5 cases. One is VServe Global Private Limited, dated 7/7/2018. I gave it in Annexer 5. Second one is Vishahar Prasant Bave Micro Industries, 10/8/2018, Annexer 6. Segoma Imaging Technologies and NES Global Specialties Engineering Service and NC Software. These 5 cases. In brief, I have quoted the case like this. Case 1. In the case of VServe Global Private Limited, Mumbai, the Maharashtra authority gave the advance ruling as such. The fact they are providing back office support service to overseas companies and receive the amount in convertible foreign exchange. They are doing the back office support service. What is back office support service? To identify the supplier or something. Whether the amount received by VServe is zero rated supply, exempted under IGST. The ruling, a person who arranges or facilitates supply of goods or services or both falls in the definition of intermediary and not export of service. Case 2. In the case of Micro Instruments, Micro Instruments is providing services to its principal at Germany by way of procuring purchase orders from the parties in India. So they are facilitating. For facilitating any sales is coming under intermediary service and GST is payable. So the ruling, commission received by micro industries in convertible foreign exchange for rendering service as an intermediary between exporter abroad receiving such service and an Indian importer as an equipment is not export of service. Such supply will be treated as interstate supply and GST has to be paid at 18%. Third, in case of Segama Imaging Technologies India Private Limited, R2Net appointed Segoma Israel for photography surface. See, R2Net அப்படிங்கிற கம்பெனி வந்து யூஎஸ்ஏல இருக்குது. அவங்க ஆர்டர் வந்து செகோமா இஸ்ரேலுக்கு கொடுக்குறாங்க for photography surface. Segoma opened 100% subsidiary Segoma India Private Limited to do the photography service, which is to be utilized R2Net. And R2Net customers is utilizing the service. அதாவது டைமண்ட் கொடுக்குறாங்க. அந்த டைமண்டை வந்து வேரியஸ் ஆங்கிள் இவங்க போட்டோகிராஃப் எடுக்கிறாங்க. இந்தியன் கம்பெனி போட்டோகிராஃப் எடுத்து R2Netங்கிற யூஎஸ்ஏ கம்பெனியினுடைய கஸ்டமர்ஸ் இன் ஃபாரின் கண்ட்ரிஸ் அவங்களுக்கு அனுப்புறாங்க. அவங்க அதை பார்த்துட்டு அந்த டைமண்ட்ஸ் நாங்கள் வாங்கிக்கிறோம் அல்லது வேண்டாம் அப்படிங்கிறாங்க. இந்த போட்டோகிராஃபி சர்வீஸ் பண்றாங்க. இதை வந்து ஆக்சுவலா இது எக்ஸ்போர்ட் ஆஃப் சர்வீஸ் தான். பட் அட்வான்ஸ்ட் அத்தாரிட்டி ஃபார் ரூலிங் என்ன சொல்லியிருக்கிறாங்கன்னா நாட் அண்டர் ஒரு ஸ்கோப்னு சொல்லி முடிச்சிட்டாங்க. நெக்ஸ்ட், இன் த கேஸ் ஆஃப் NES குளோபல் இன்ஜினியரிங் சர்வீசஸ் மகாராஷ்டிரா, இது வந்து ஒரு நல்ல கேஸ். வெரி போல்டா ஆன்சர் பண்ணியிருக்காங்க. ஃபேவரபிள் டு பையிங் ஆஃபீஸர்ஸ் அட் திருப்பூர். NES அபுதாபி, இதுல வந்து இன்னொரு விஷயம் இருக்குது. NES அபுதாபி, NES இந்தியா அண்ட் NES UK 3 கம்பெனி இருக்குது. ராஜேஷ் சார்ல இருந்தாருன்னா அவருக்கு அந்த மாஸ்டர் சர்வீஸ் அக்ரிமெண்ட்டை பத்தி எக்ஸ்பிளைன் பண்ணலாம். அக்ரிமெண்ட் வேணுமான்னு கேட்டார்ல வந்து. ஓகே, 3 கம்பெனி NES அபுதாபி, NES இந்தியா, NES UK into master agreement, and NES India has to provide accounting, sales invoicing, purchase invoicing, cash receipt posting, bank payment entries, other receipts. அங்கிருந்து ட்ரம் ஸ்கேனர் சொல்லி கேள்விப்பட்டிருப்பீங்க. ஃபாரின்ல எல்லாம் ட்ரம் ஸ்கேனர், யூகேல வந்து யூஎஸ்ஏல வந்து ட்ரம் ஸ்கேனர்ல வவுச்சர்ஸ் எல்லாம் போட்டுருவாங்க. போட்டு அதை ஸ்கேன் பண்ணிடுவாங்க. அந்த ஸ்கேன்டு இமேஜஸ் இங்க வரும். அதை பார்த்து குயிக் புக்ங்கிற சாஃப்ட்வேர், அந்த சாஃப்ட்வேர் சர்டிபிகேட் வாங்கியிருக்கணும். அவங்க அந்த இமேஜை பார்த்து அக்கௌண்ட்ல என்ட்ரி போட்டாங்கன்னா ஒரு என்ட்ரிக்கு $1. ஒரு சார்ட்டர்ட் அக்கௌண்டன்ட் மாசம் 5 crore ஏன் பண்றாரு பூனாவில். he is doing that work. வந்து அந்த மாதிரி அந்த NES அபுதாபி வந்து NES UK வந்து NES அபுதாபி கொடுக்குறாங்க, NES அபுதாபி வந்து NES இந்தியாவுக்கு கொடுக்குறாங்க. NES இந்தியா தான் ஒர்க் பண்ணுது. ஒர்க் பண்ணி இப்ப செக்ஷன் 8(1) பிரகாரம் பார்த்தா இது டிஸ்டிங்க்ட் பர்சன் சொல்ல முடியாது. சேம் இன்ட்ரெஸ்ட் இருக்குது. இருந்த போதிலும் அட்வான்ஸ் ரூலிங்ல வந்து என்ன சொல்றாங்க பாருங்க, NES இந்தியா சார்ஜஸ் NES அபுதாபி ஃபார் த காஸ்ட் இன்கர்ட் இன் இந்தியா. அவங்க வந்து NES இந்தியா வந்து ஒன்லி ரீஇம்பர்ஸ்மெண்ட் ஆஃப் எக்ஸ்பென்சஸ் தான் சொல்றாங்க. சர்வீஸுக்கு வந்து எனக்கு பணம் வாங்குறது இல்லை. சர்வீஸ்க்கு பணம் வாங்குறது NES அபுதாபி தான் வாங்குறான், இந்தியாக்காரன் வாங்குறது இல்லை. அவங்க ரீஇம்பர்ஸ்மெண்ட் ஆஃப் எக்ஸ்பென்சஸ் பிளஸ் 10% மார்ஜின் இஃப் தேர் இஸ் எனி டாக்ஸ் அண்ட் அப்ளிகபிள் டாக்ஸ், அது மட்டும் தான் வாங்குறாங்க. வெதர் த சர்வீஸ் இஸ் எக்ஸ்போர்ட் ஆஃப் சர்வீஸ் கேட்டதுக்கு அட்வான்ஸ் அத்தாரிட்டி வந்து எஸ் இட் இஸ் எக்ஸ்போர்ட் ஆஃப் சர்வீஸ் அண்ட் எக்ஸம்ப்டன்ட்டாங்க. திஸ் இஸ் எ ஃபேவரபிள் டிசிஷன் ஃபார் பையிங் ஆஃபீஸ். அதே மாதிரி அன்சீஸ் சாஃப்ட்வேர், அதான் லாஸ்ட் கேஸ். The applicant is providing 2 types of services in separate agreement. This is very important. They have prepared 2 types of agreement. One is marketing pre-sale technique support service agreement. That is taxable. Marketing nale taxable. Clear? Commission agent வந்துருவாங்க. The second one is post sales technical service. அதுக்கு exemption நம்ம பார்க்கலாம். இது நம்ம பையிங் ஆஃபீஸ்க்கு சூட்டபிளா வரும். மார்க்கெட்டிங்க்கு வந்து தனி அக்ரிமெண்ட் போட்டு அதுக்கு GST கட்டிட்டு போஸ்ட் சேல்ஸ் டெக்னிக்கல் சப்போர்ட்டோ அல்லது வேற எதுக்கோ தனி அக்ரிமெண்ட் போட்டுக்கலாம். In this applicant undertakes the undertaking of customer requirement, presentations, demonstrations, explore business opportunity. Once the order is placed, applicant used to coordinate with the customers, helps in follow-up for collection of invoice value from customers in India. Applicant receives consideration fixed as a percentage of sale. Fixed as a percentage of sale of order value nale commission nature. So intermediary service. Held the service provided is intermediary service falling under section 5(2)(13). So IGST payable. The authority has noted grasped the actual nature of transaction which are required to be treated separately rather than treating them as ancillary service with conjunction to the principal supply, as different contracts were entered for the transactions and concluded accordingly. Second, post-sales technical services. In this, applicant used to provide technical support such as support through email, telephone, web to the customer of parent company, and in return parent company pay the consideration. The service provider is classified information technology support service, and this is export of service. And then 2 case laws. I took 2 case laws favorable to buying officers. One is Synchron Research Services Private Limited. Another one is Reliance. Okay, first we will see the Synchron. Synchron Research Services Private Limited providing technical testing and analysis services to overseas clients and received in convertible foreign exchange. For doing the technical testing, who is providing the goods to them? The Indian customers. So even though they receive the goods from the Indian customers, they are doing the technical service and exporting the service by way of report to foreign country. No service tax payable as per the court order. Whether the service is export of services under the Service Tax Act, the same Service Tax Act is now converted to GST Act. So these case laws are also applicable. Judgment. Since the services are performed by way of reports and the reports are delivered outside India and received in convertible foreign exchange, the same shall be treated as export of service. Next one. Reliance Clinical Research Service Private Limited, Zero Clinical Private Limited versus Commission. Because they have changed the company name, so I put both the names. At the time of filing the appeal, it was in different name. At the time of order, it was in different name. Reliance Clinical Research Services Private Limited providing clinical trial research service to various pharmaceutical companies in abroad in respect of clinical testing of new drugs and received in convertible foreign. That new drugs provided in India only by the Indian pharmaceutical companies. They did the technical service and they have exported to foreign buyers to purchase the goods from India. So the services are exported together with the goods to foreign country. Whether the service is export or service under the Service Tax Act, since the services are performed by way of reports and the reports are delivered outside India and received in convertible foreign exchange, the same shall be treated as export of service. So you are planning now these annexes. First annexure is only I will highlight the annexes. So I gave some 4 or 5 annexures, some 10 annexures, the detailed case history of the advanced ruling authority and also the court cases. All I took copies, and tomorrow I will give copies to the members present here. In case of any doubt, please feel free to call me at any time. I give my phone number also.